What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the MAC Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things MAC, all things football, all things sports, right here, MAC Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the greats, MAC, to everyone.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the MAC Sports Connection podcast, all MACtion all the time. I'm your host, Alex. Joining me, as always, it's Graham. Graham, we move on to the M's. We are in the M's. We are halfway done with our season previews. And who better to start with than the newcomer to the MAC, UMass?
That's right. You know, UMass is kind of a newcomer, kind of an old comer, coming back to the MAC. But we're excited to have them back and excited to replace our westernmost travel with an easternmost travel.
Absolutely. It's an interesting gap year, or a crossover year, with us retaining Northern Illinois and bringing in UMass. Last season, not great for UMass. 2-10 overall. Their last year as an independent program, but they gave some teams some fits a year ago. This isn't a program that just laid down and took it. They had opportunities to pull off wins against UConn, against Liberty. They played Eastern Michigan and Toledo tough. They lost in overtime to MAC runner-up Miami. Like, this is a team that I think could potentially surprise a lot of people this year. And we're going to get into the weeds of that here in just a minute. But I really, really like a lot of what they did last year. They didn't finish great. I took their numbers and put them in comparison to the MAC last season. Total offense, they wouldn't have finished dead last. They actually would have finished 10th in the conference. Passing yards, again, 10th in the conference. Passing touchdowns, this one I thought was interesting. 14, tied for 7th in the Mid-American Conference. And then rushing touchdowns, they would have been tied for 5th at 18. And rushing yards per game, that would have been 5th in the conference, 66 nationally, and they played far more Power 5 opponents than any other MAC school did this year. So you're putting up those kinds of numbers, at least offensively. Yeah, you're going to have a few miscues, but I don't think there's too much you can sneeze at when you're seeing the schedule that they had last year.
Yeah, as an independent, UMass's schedule was always a little wild. And then, a big win over rival UConn last year is a big deal. You remember UConn has given MAC teams fits in the past. I think in this conference, although when we get to the schedule, we'll see how much my picks actually back up what I'm saying there.
Absolutely. That's Graham, let's just get into it. Under new head coach, it's going to be really interesting. Joe Harris-Simiak comes in, hired in from Rutgers, 20-15 record at Maine, finished 5th in the FCS. And he's got a bunch of coordinator experience to kind of turn what has been a struggling team into potentially a bowl contender, into a MAC competitor. Since UMass has been in the FBS after elevation, they've not done well. This 2-10 record of a year ago shows off 13 years of struggling to find their footing. I feel like we see schools like Liberty, James Madison find their footing pretty quickly. For UMass, it's been tough. And I think part of that is not having a consistent conference home. It's a lot of independence, and that has really hurt the growth of the program.
Yeah, it's a two-edged sword, that independent path. And certainly for teams like Notre Dame, it works. Being independent is a strength. But I agree with you. I think for UMass, it was more of a challenge than it was a strength. Harris-Simiak comes in and gets to start fresh with UMass back in the MAC, and we now get to talk about UMass in the MAC. Starting with the quarterback position. Last year we had AJ Hairston, who is back again this year. He took over for Will Perry last year. Put up 480 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions on 75 total passes. So not a ton of work for Hairston last year. But it looks like he is maybe the starter. It's going to be weird here because we also had a couple of transfers in Grant Jordan from Yale and Brandon Rose from Utah.
Yeah, I think this is where you have to put most of your focus. There's a lot of talent in this quarterback room, and I think Hairston's probably going to win the starting position. But I don't think you have a bad complement of backups here. Brandon Rose, obviously, as you mentioned, Utah, Grant Jordan from Yale. These are guys who have experience in different ways. Grant Jordan last year, 9 games, almost 2,000 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. And by the way, he can run too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Grant Jordan in some of these kind of wildcat packages, 112 rushing attempts, 364 yards and 5 scores. But that's going to be the challenge, is who's going to be able to get the ball downfield? Who are they getting the ball downfield to? And are they going to have an offensive line to protect them? Let's move into this running back room to kind of see what can open up for the quarterbacks in the passing game. And I think the running back room might be one of the weaker spots on the offensive side of the ball, just because there's so many guys that are not returning.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about the running backs for UMass here, it's a kind of a toss-up as to who we're looking at. It looks like Rocco Griffin is probably going to be the guy who has the bulk of the work, the lead back, as it were. Last year, he had 17 attempts for 45 yards. So,
Yeah.
We're going to talk about him as the guy who is the most experienced of these backs, but it's not much. It's not a ton of experience.
That's he's a junior transfer from UTSA via Vanderbilt, and you're right. I think what gives him the slight edge is, one, just slightly more experience than everybody else, but 2, he has a little bit of that SEC experience, again, practicing. We've talked about this before, practicing against those guys at that level. And he comes from a pretty solid group of 5 program with UTSA. The one that I think is interesting is John Price. He's a grad transfer from North Texas via Syracuse, or from Syracuse via North Texas, rather. And it's a similar story. He's played in 2 games, 14 attempts, 64 yards. This one just feels like he's a kid looking for an opportunity to try to win a starting job in his final year of college football. And the rest of the tale, I'm looking at these numbers, Graham. We have 4 running backs who have playing experience, at least from last year. None of them have any touchdowns.
That's right. So, none of these guys really played a big role on their respective offenses, whether UMass or elsewhere. And so it is a question of who steps up. Now, I think we're looking at probably Rocco Griffin is the top of the pack here, but whoever falls into the end zone more often, I think is going to be the guy.
I like that, falls into the end zone. That's a good thing for these running backs to do. Let's talk about these wide receivers. This is similar to the running backs, arguably the most inexperienced room. They lost their top target, or their top pass catchers from last year. And they do have Jaquan Griffin. He is coming back. He's only got 23 catches. This is, again, another room where who's the guy? We don't know. Do they have a true wide receiver one? Do they not? Maybe. Ty Harding, again, Jaquan Gibson, guys that people know. Donnie Gray coming in from Northwestern. Tyree Kelly from USF. Max Dowling, the tight end from UT Martin. I don't know. I think that's the question. That's who's going to be the guy to step up and be the one to make those in traffic catches, or just be the consistent pass catcher.
Yeah, I mean, we got guys like Kenyon Massey, who is who's a recruit coming in, and as well as guys like you mentioned, Donnie Gray, transferring in from Northwestern, guys who used to be 3-star recruits, and that's good for the MAC.
Mhm.
You know, that's the kind of talent that we see at the top of these receiver rooms often. So they got some talent there. Donnie Gray is the only guy really with length, standing at 6'2". A lot of kind of shorter guys for the wide receiver position on this team. But yeah, you mentioned Jaquan Gibson and T.Y. Harding, both guys who are returning for UMass, and they're probably going to be the top of the target share for the wide receivers.
And I'm just looking at it, and this is going to be a room that there's plenty of talent, I think, at the top, but again, just completely the bottom falls out. After that, there's not a lot of guys that I'm getting excited about. Kind of looking at some of the numbers, or really lack thereof. There's a couple true freshmen coming in, a couple juniors and seniors who are transferring in. So this wide receiver room to me is an incredibly mixed bag. But I think you can say the same about really the tight ends as well. Max Dowling is coming in again from UT Martin, and I think he might be one of the most experienced players on this offense. 14 games last year, 37 targets, 23 receptions with 278 yards and 5 scores. This one feels like he might be, if you can't find the guy downfield, this looks like your safety valve on the offense.
Yeah, I mean, Max Dowling is certainly a receiving type tight end, and showed that last year. Not a ton of production in terms of yards, but 5 touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at. On the other side, we got Owen Anderson coming over from Illinois, and a guy who got very little work last year, just 3 targets. But of those 3 targets, one of them a touchdown. So another guy who possibly is productive at the tight end position. I think it's pretty clear that this is going to be Max Dowling first, but I wouldn't be surprised to see UMass use 3 or 4 even tight ends this year.
When I was doing the research for this episode, I was kind of expecting that the skill positions were going to be the strength of this program. And I got to tell you, I'm pleasantly surprised at this offensive line, and we're going to talk about that here. This is a really, really solid offensive line. They lost Josh Atwood and Ethan Modiger, but you're going to see Benjamin Roy come over. He's going to likely be the center. You've got Ryan Mosesso coming over from Maryland. Kyle Brown is going to be anchoring there at the right guard. I think you've got Michael Etwistle coming in, and he's going to be anchoring down the left guard position. And then at left tackle, you've got Brady Kamga. I really, really like the size and strength of this offensive line. And then you look at the guys kind of the other guys in this room. You've got Northwestern transfers. You've got Grambling State transfers. You've got Cincinnati transfers, West Virginia transfer. You've got big guys from all over the country. I really think that this is going to be one of the strengths to UMass this year.
Yeah, Roy and Mosesso at center and right tackle, respectively, are returning for UMass, and a line that only allowed 30 sacks last year, which is not great numbers for outside of the conference, but it is good numbers for the MAC. And joined by guys like you mentioned Kyle Brown, you mentioned Mike Entwistle, both guys who were first team All Ivy League last year. So this is a very talented line. A lot of these guys recruited to larger schools before they ended up at UMass. And a lot of these guys on the larger side themselves, although not a ton of 300 plus pound guys on this offensive line. And I like that. I like the building an offensive line for athleticism, building it for agility and speed. It gives you some more options on the offensive line, and really set yourself up for interesting play calls there.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think this offensive line, if they can give whoever the quarterback is, Grant Rose, AJ Harrison, Grant Jordan, Brandon Rose, AJ Harrison, if they can give that quarterback time, this could be a really fun offense to watch. And in the MAC, as you kind of pointed out, I think this offensive line, carries a little bit of weight, can actually play a full season of Mid-American Conference games. So I'm really excited to see what they can do. And kind of the same thing with the defensive side of the ball. I think a little bit weaker on the defensive line, but I think that there's some big strength here on the defensive side of the ball. And when I look at who they've got, you've got Timothy Grant Randall, Joshua Nobles from Jackson State, Marquez White from McNeese. Like this, there are really, really good guys coming in. I've accidentally put Joshua Nobles twice in my notes here. Shemel Davis from Maine, Malachi Madison from Virginia Tech. Timothy Grant Randall is the returner with Nobles. They have 12.5 sacks. White is a big dude that I think is going to continue to elevate this defensive line. As a grad transfer from McNeese State. He's got 36 tackles a year ago, 20 hurries, 3 sacks. And I think that's a nice addition to a defensive line that, frankly, it did okay against the ground game. Not great, but would be competitive in the Mid-American Conference.
Yeah, I think that's what we're asking, is that the stats don't necessarily stack up for UMass, but UMass played a very different schedule. Despite the fact that they played quite a few MAC opponents last year, they played a different schedule than most of the conference did last year. So hard to tell what these statistics mean. Comparing last year's offensive and defensive numbers, and really hard to tell how these guys are going to stack up within the conference. I think defensive line is going to be a strength of this UMass defense. For me, I think it's the most talented unit. Although the linebackers are also talented, we'll get to them in just a second. I'm interested to see. The MAC has a handful of really tough offensive lines, but for the most of the MAC, the offensive line is a shaky position group, and so a talented defensive line can really stir things up. So I think this group is poised to do just that.
No, I think you're spot on. Let's talk about these linebackers, Graham. You were kind of hinting at how talented you think this linebacker core is. I don't disagree with you, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of guys at the top of the linebacker position in Timmy Hinspeter and Darian Craig, who are both guys who are going to look to be the leaders in this linebacker position at the middle linebacker and the outside linebacker position, respectively. A handful of transfers coming in, including Hinspeter from Rutgers, Nick Hawthorne from Boise State, and Dean Schaefer from Yale, all coming into this linebacker position. A lot of these guys come out as 3-star recruits, and now get a chance in to lead the UMass defense. So a ton of talent here. Pretty much everyone in this linebacker group is 6'1". It's wild to me. My guess is that they didn't actually measure any of these guys. They look about 6'1", and just went ahead and wrote that down. That's 6'1", 215 to 230 is about the linebacker size for UMass, and you can just plug and play from there. Not a ton of experience for these guys. There are 3 guys, Hinspeter, Craig, and Tyler Martin, who have over 10 games played last year, as well as Donovan Dyson had 9 games played last year. So guys coming in with a little bit of experience there, but not a ton of tackles from this group. We'll look to see more tackles from the linebacker group this year as they step into bigger roles.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity. Again, comparing numbers from yesteryear to now is so difficult, as you pointed out. And so it's going to be really interesting who steps up, when they step up, and just how much of an impact they make. Let's look at this defensive backfield. I'd say this is, again, arguably one of the weaker units. I think the defense as a whole might be a stronger unit than the offense this year, but I think on the defensive side, the corners and safeties are going to be the weakest point, and that's because they lost everybody. Whether that's graduation, whether that's transfers, whatever it may be. I'm looking at this thing right here, and they've got so many guys who are transferring in. You've got Malcolm Green. You've got TJ McGee. You've got Zeron Daniel, Ryan Barnes. All of these transfer players coming in. The one that I really like, though, on this list is Malcolm Green, a former 4-star recruit at Clemson and Virginia. But it can't be him. Some of the rest of these guys are going to have to step up. And I think you got guys who can. You got Ryan Barnes, who has an opportunity to really step in and be a leader, the 3-star, used to play at Notre Dame. I think that there are plenty of talented individuals. Leonard St. Gordon, he does have a little bit of experience. We'll see. But it's a lot of unknowns right now. You know, it's great to have one stud. And in the MAC, sometimes one stud on defense is enough. But I think right now this is a patchwork defensive backfield.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. You know, a lot of these guys transferring in, and we're unsure of where they're going to fit. You talked about Malcolm Green, who's going to play nickelback in this defense. A ton of talent there, not a ton of experience in college football. Versus guys like TJ McGee and Zeron Daniel, both transfers coming in, and who have a ton of experience, played 11 games last year, but not highly touted as recruits. So, you know, it's kind of the question of talent versus experience, and who's going to be the starters and who's going to show out for UMass this year. I think between the pressure of the defensive line and the kind of stalwart cleanup of the linebackers, the defensive backs are going to have opportunities for turnovers on this UMass defense. And the question is, are they going to capitalize on those turnover opportunities? Because that's what's going to keep UMass in games this year, especially against the top of the conference, where UMass, frankly, is going to be outmatched.
And that's what's going to be difficult. I mean, we'll get into the UMass schedule here in just a little bit, but I think that's going to be the kind of the tale of the UMass season, is how do they fare over an 8-game MAC schedule. Last but not least, because it's an important part of football, let's talk about this special teams unit. I gotta say, if you know anything about the history of UMass football, special teams has been less than special. It's been pretty unspectacular, if I'm being very honest. But they're hoping that they can fix that this year. Derek Morris coming in from Cal, Marcus Lai coming in from Northern Arizona, kind of competing for that top kicking job, if you will. Keegan Andrews coming in from Texas A&M to punt. So a lot of guys in these rooms who are transferring in, and I think you got to look at Derek Morris and Marcus Lyle and say, this is going to be a fun competition. Marcus Lyle has a long of 52, and then Derek Morris, he connected on 11 of 15 field goals with a long of 46. We'll see. I mean, Jacob Lurie was not great beyond 40 yards. And in fact, looking at the numbers, he was just 3 of 10 last year. But I think this is such an overlooked aspect of a college football team. If you can get your special teams locked in, you'll win a few more games than if they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be Marcus Lai. He's a senior coming in from Northern Arizona. So I think he has that seniority. He also has connected on a field goal over 50 yards, like you mentioned. So that makes sense to me as well. He went 23 for 23 on PATs last year. So hopefully some consistency at the kicking position for UMass. Punting, I mean, good luck to Keegan Andrews. We'll see what that translates to. Hopefully UMass not having to do a ton of punting in this season back in the MAC. And then T.Y. Harding did a pretty decent job at punt returns last year. Had a 58-yarder returning the ball on punts. Not so great on kick returns, but we know, a lot of kick returns nowadays just don't get returned. So we'll see if we can. T.Y. Harding can certainly be electric in the kick return game, but it is a question of how much opportunity he's going to get.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what's fun. If he is being relied on heavily on the offense, maybe that job goes to somebody else, or who knows. We've seen it in the MAC where they realize, hey, we've got a guy who can catch the ball, but also can run really fast. We saw, I think with Toledo, we saw Jacquez Stewart return some kickoffs. We saw Juwan Newton do that with Toledo as well. So there's guys that can do both, and maybe he's the guy. T.Y. Harding can pull that off. So we'll see. I'm excited for elements of this UMass team. I think that there's promise, but it's stringing it all together, and we'll get into the schedule here in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to make sure you guys have downloaded the Varsity app by Lairfield. With the Varsity app, you can listen live or to all your favorite podcasts from across college athletics. Listen in to live calls from the SEC, Big Ten, Mid-American Conference, and more. Football, basketball, volleyball, whatever it is, you can tune in for free on the go to your favorite calls. You can also listen to great podcasts such as yours truly, the Max Sports Connection, Sickos Committee, and more. Make sure you guys download that app today for free in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and listen to the calls and podcasts that bring your schools and conferences to life. Graham, let's get into the weeds of this schedule here. I want to say the MAC did them a couple favors with first year scheduling, but they didn't do themselves any favors with this non-conference schedule.
No, they certainly didn't schedule a bunch of cupcakes here. Week 1, August 30th, we got UMass taking on Temple. I don't know why. I came into this episode thinking Temple was a rival of UMass. I looked it up. They're not. There's no reason to think that. I think maybe because the colors are similar. I thought that maybe it's the former MAC connection. I have no idea. But for whatever reason in my mind, Temple is a UMass rival. So in the fake rivalry game of my mind, I have Temple walking away with the victory in this one.
Yeah, I think this is tough to start. You do have Temple at home in your first year in the MAC, or your first year back in the MAC. I think this one's tough. It's I'm going Temple with you on week 1. Moving to week 2 though, I think UMass gets their first win against Bryant, FCS level Bryant. Again, another home game for UMass. I think that they get it done here. And if it works out, maybe string off a few other wins. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think that UMass gets it done at home in week 2.
Completely agree. This is a UMass win.
Easy enough. Then back-to-back weeks on the road. First, you head to Iowa and Kinnick Stadium. And, Graham, I got to tell you, Iowa's got one of the coolest college football traditions, the waving at the Children's Hospital later in the game. To me, say what you want about college traditions. I think that's one of the coolest. And that's special for those kids in that hospital.
It's a ton of heart for the Hawkeyes fans, and it immediately makes the opposing team into villains. You're
Yes.
really trying to take down the team who's waving to the sick kids. I love it. I love it from all angles, because you can't hate on it. You can't be like, oh, what a stupid tradition that is,
Right.
because it is such a great tradition. And at the same time, it hypes up the fans. It hypes up the players. It's pretty unassailable in terms of college traditions go.
Well, UMass, if they want to leave less villainous than they plan on being during the game, they should probably wave at the hospital. But they should also plan on probably not winning this football game.
Yeah, I got the Hawkeyes.
Hawkeyes take it. UMass falls to 1-2 for both of us. Then you travel to Missouri. You welcome Missouri to the Junkyard, as fans of UMass have aptly named their stadium. I think that's a fun name. And you travel out to Columbia, Missouri. I think that Mizzou gets it done at home here in week 5 after a week off for the Minutemen.
Yeah, those Mizzou Tigers are gonna snack on some Minutemen.
Let's hope they don't snack too much. Then we officially kick off conference play. You get Western Michigan at home. A lot of pomp and circumstance. You're back in the conference. You're doing things. Now you can focus on going undefeated every week.
Alex, I got a question for you.
What's your question?
Paul Revere, Minuteman?
I would say yes.
So Paul Revere's a Minuteman.
Uh-huh.
He rode a Bronco.
Can we confirm it was a Bronco?
I think it was a white Bronco.
No, you're thinking O.J. Simpson.
No, I'm not. What I'm thinking is that the UMass Minutemen are going to ride the Western Michigan Broncos in this one for a UMass victory.
Wow. Graham with the hot take. I like it. That's bold. That is bold. And I'm going to disagree with you. Because they're neither coming by land nor by sea. They're probably traveling by air. And there is no, anything for what happens if they showed up by air. And I think Western Michigan walks all over them and says, "Welcome to the MAC. Glad you're here. Thanks for the win."
I love that little disagreement. I feel
great.
like I've gone chalk in a lot of these, and the UMass gets a victory. They want some MAC victories this year. This is a UMass victory.
That is impressive, and I think I know why you're going against that, because we've already picked most of UMass's MAC schedule.
That's right. And
we have them all as losses.
UMass somehow played the whole first half of the alphabet. That's their MAC schedule this year.
We'll just go down the list here. UMass travels to Kent State in week 2. I will say I wish I had done a little bit more research on UMass before I picked that Kent State game. Because retroactively, I want to say it's a UMass win, but I think I've got to stick with what I've got and give Kent State the win.
Yeah. This is we looked at Kent State last week, and Kent State just doesn't have that many wins available on their schedule. So I think, like I said last week, it's a home game. UMass is going to have to travel to this one, and despite the fact I think UMass matches up well talent-wise against Kent State, I think Kent State knows this is one of their few opportunities for a win, and they're going to come out and claim that victory.
I like it. Moving on, it's a game against Buffalo, the Battle of Amherst versus Amherst. The Bulls will trot away. I don't know what we go with here, but we'll run away with the victory here in Amherst.
Yeah, I think folks know I'm super high on Buffalo this year. So
pretty bullish on the Bulls.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but you did. Against Central Michigan the following week at Central. This is a Chippewas victory for me. This is, I think Central and UMass match up pretty well. The deciding factor here is that CMU's at home.
And I'm right there with you, Graham. I think CMU, they get a quality opponent at the right time in their schedule, a quality conference opponent at the right time of their schedule. and they find what they're looking for with another win, and it's going to be here against UMass. Then we get a break, and then we are in November officially. You got to travel to Akron after a 10-day break. It's that weird midweek action break. And we both have this one as a loss for UMass at InfoCision Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I like Akron despite their academic misadventures. I do think that that Akron football wise is on the come up, despite how we talked about them in that first preview. The big deciding factor here, this is a home game for Akron. This is a midweek action game. So this is UMass having to travel to Akron on a Tuesday. It's just tough travel, always tough to win away from home. And despite UMass, I think, matching up pretty well against Akron, I think this is an Akron win.
Chalk that one up for the Zips. Now, Graham, you just had an incredibly bold take.
That's right.
I think it's my turn to deliver on a bold take.
Oh, no way. Okay.
I think it's my turn. Northern Illinois.
Sure.
Very unexcited to have UMass in the conference. And that's mostly the fans, that from what I gathered. So I don't want to put that on the administration. The MAC scheduled Northern Illinois to travel to UMass for a midweek game. This is going to be a game sandwiched either before or after their game with Toledo. So I think there's a chance they either overlook UMass or they come in completely exhausted after an intense battle with Toledo. Give me the Minutemen firing their muskets at the Huskies for a home win in the one crossover year we have with NIU and UMass.
Wow. I think that's a super bold take. And I definitely think you should have gone different imagery than UMass shooting a dog. I think that's going to be tough for our listeners to get behind. You didn't
shoot the dog itself. You shot at the dog. It's like flying over the dog. It's fine.
Okay. I still think that that's going to be a tough sell for our listeners. So I'm going to give them an easier sell. Northern Illinois is a more talented team. This is a warm up for the sort of traveling they're going to have to do and when they change conferences next year into that Mountain West. So I think they'll handle this handily, and this is an NIU victory.
I like it, and can't wait for November. Then they travel to Ohio, get a road game at Peden Stadium. Peden, which, by the way, found out they have officially sold out their season ticket allotment and the entirety of the West Virginia game. You can get a West Virginia Ohio ticket online right now for about $150 at Peden Stadium. Never thought I'd see that happening. That being said, won't be the same kind of crowd for UMass. And I expect Ohio to get the win here in the penultimate game of UMass's welcome back tour.
Yeah, Ohio is one of those teams who's going to be at the top of the conference. So this is a UMass loss, unfortunately for UMass, but it's a UMass loss.
And then we wrap up their season. We've got UMass losing to Bowling Green here to wrap out the 2025 campaign. I have them going 2-10. Graham, you also have them going 2-10, but they picked up MAC victories in year one.
That's right. Yeah, for this last one, it's I don't know if I'm just buying into the Eddie George hype or not, but I kind of believe Bowling Green's going to be good this year. But yeah, UMass 2-10 is the same record they had last year, and I think it's a decent start. It's not what they're hoping for, of course, but it's a decent start for a return to the conference.
I love it. Well, guys, that's going to do it for our UMass preview today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate the love and support, and a big welcome to the Minutemen and their venture back into the Mid-American Conference. Really excited to have you guys around, and this time for everything, and hope you stick around for a while. If you're new to the show, please give us a like, review, subscribe, all that jazz. You can find us on all the social media platforms at the MSC Podcast on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, X/Twitter. And you can even find us on Facebook for anybody who still uses Facebook, because you're probably over the age of 45. And you can also find us on YouTube. You can listen to the show anywhere podcasts are available, including Apple Music, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Find us, leave a like, review, subscribe. We appreciate the love and support. And we will see you guys next time for our UMass. For our Miami season preview. Looking forward to bringing that one to you guys.